to another match edition of the RDFNL Footy Show. Thanks to our friends at On Time Delivery Solutions. My name's Andy. I'm joined by Tara Murray from the Star Weekly. What another cracking round of footy we had.
It is. I'm back after last week. We actually did film shows last week, but they got lost in cyberspace somewhere. Yeah, so not my fault. But no, what a cracking game. We were pretty excited heading into this round with 4 of the top 5 teams playing each other. And we ended up, I think you ended up at one match, I ended up at the other, and there was a total of 6 points between those 4 sides. So 2 cracker games there.
Absolutely fantastic. And the ladder is really starting to take shape in the top 5, and the battle between the top 6, or for that 6th spot, is well and truly alive and well.
It is. Obviously, you mentioned the top 5. There's 8 points between them, but that includes Diggers Rest, who still has a game in hand. So if you were to look at ladder position, you put Diggers Rest down for that win. That'd make them on 36 points if that was the case, and then you'd have 4 points between 5 sides. So every win, every loss and percentage is vital in the run home for those top 5 sides.
What are the records sort of like with some of these teams?
Look, you look at it, most of the sides have played within them 4 or 5 games. You look, Rupert's Wood's 3-2. They've had one big loss to Riddle when they had the tight loss to Wallen, but they've got across beaten Diggers Rest twice by 4 points, and they beat Macedon earlier in the season. Wallen's 2-2, but look, their margins against the top other sides in the top 5. The biggest one's 27 points either way. You've got Riddle, who are 2-3, but those 3 losses came in their first 3 games, and they have won every game since. Then you look at Macedon, they're 2-3. They've had the blowout against Rupert's Wood, but you look at their other margins are 1-8, 2-2. And then Diggers Rest, who are sitting 3-2, all the margins within these ones have been 22 points is the highest, and the 2 losses they've got there are both by 4 points. So you look, Diggers Rest is 5th, but looking at that, they've pretty got to the best record against the other sides in the top 5.
They could almost be on top of the ladder, realistically, if those results had gone their way.
That's it. You look at most of these sides have had close matches against the other teams. A goal here, a goal there, that we could have a very different looking ladder in that top 5. Yeah,
exactly right there. So a fantastic rivalry shaping up between the top 5, which is going really well. You mentioned Diggers Rest and Rupo. You were at that game on the weekend. Tell us how it unfolded.
Well, the first thing I got told when I walked into the ground was that I was the only person who tipped Rupo. I did look. Yeah. Grant Harrison actually did as well, but despite Rupo being on top of the ladder, they were the underdogs according to the expert tippers in the record this week. So that was the first thing.
Injuries,
the first thing I got told, and they were picking on you again for not backing Rupo. So, but obviously you mentioned that injuries. That's probably the big thing for Rupert's Wood. They really stood up without some of their leaders. They're missing Brent Swallow, Brett Chambers, and Dean Part. So they're arguably the 3 most important players for the Sharks. But they were able to get the win done for the second time this season by 4 points across against the Burrows. The Sharks looked the better side in the first half, and they got out to a decent lead at half time before Diggers hit back, and they hit the lead in the third quarter before Todd Podolzak kicked a goal late to put the Sharks back in front at the last break. And the last quarter it was goal for goal, and both sides had their chances, and in the end it was the Sharks who got back through the league through debutant Jake Sutton, snapped one from the goal square, and then they kicked another one after that to get the 4-point win. So it was quite an interesting match, and you look at it, brilliant match, brilliant result.
Yeah, absolutely magnificent, and interesting with Jake Sutton as well. We're pretty big on that Far North Queensland campaign, where we are seeing kids go up there and what's on offer for them when they come back, and a lot of them have or make their introduction to senior football, TAC Cup level, on return from that trip, and Sutz is no different than that. He's come back, he's made his senior debut on the weekend, and obviously kicked the key goal in the game.
It was, and I spoke to Nick Ash afterwards, and they said they're pretty big on, if you've got a forward go out, you replace them with another forward. So there was a position available for Jake, who has been a dominant goal kicker at under 18 level, and as you said, he performed well in AFL Goldfields. He was man of the match in one of the matches. The other one was Brock Land, who is also at Rupert's Wood. So they've got that young talent, and I think they're looking to blood another 2 or 3 debutants over the next few weeks before the end of the season. So you look for them. They were missing 3 of their keys, missing a few other players as well. Diggers Rest weren't at full strength. They had a couple out early on with illness before the game. They did lose Sean Egan early in the game with what looked like to be a lower leg injury, so he took that into the game, and speaking with Jamie Lobb, they reckon they'll freshen him up the next couple of weeks and get him right for finals. But if you look at this, they've played 2 matches, 8 points total between them. If that's finals, we're in for a good final series.
Spot on there. The game that I had the pleasure of getting along to on the day was Macedon and Riddle. The Bombers getting up by a couple of points in a low-scoring, hard grind. The Cats got away to an early lead, kicked 3 the first half, 4 goals. Johnny Barnett starting forward there for the Cats. He was a star backman of the premiership last year. Interesting move by the Cats to push him forward, and hats off to the Bombers. They recovered well, and it was a win they probably needed to have in that sort of environment.
And look, when I looked at it, I was looking at the scores and was quite shocked to see that there wasn't a goal kicked in the final quarter.
No.
We're used to both of these sides being generally high scoring teams with lots of options, but there was no goal scored in the final quarter, so it was a tight defensive game in that last quarter. We saw Macedon got across the line the previous week against Wallen in a close one, and this time it was Riddle. In round one, it was 1 point between these two teams, and it could have gone either way. This time it was two points in another match that could have gone either way.
It was interesting, speaking of both sides, that they both felt that the margin could have been greater on the day. Such was Riddle's dominance, particularly after quarter time. Ben Sonigan had 4 shots on goal in a row for the Bombers and had a return of 1 goal 3, and he kicked the hardest one. The other 3 were very very kickable. If he had got even 2 of those, the game probably wouldn't have been as close. But that final term, it was just tackle after tackle, stoppage after stoppage, and both sides really had to work hard for their disposal.
And that's obviously, you mentioned goal kicking, it's been something Riddle struggled with a little bit this year. They kicked 6 goals, 14, and had an extra 7 scoring shots there. So that shows they did have those extra opportunities. But you probably need these high tackling pressure games, because that's what finals footy can be about at times. You're not necessarily going to get the free-flowing games as you might get against some of the lower sides. You're going to have this tough in and under football, and we're seeing both of these sides are up to it when it counts.
Yeah, it was just hopefully we can see that intensity. If it's a sign of things to come, we'll be absolutely pumped. Melton Central's, for me, I think this was probably not the result so much, but the margin of the results. They comfortably counted for Woodend Heskett. And I say comfortably because essentially that's what it was.
It was. I was following the scores and I was a little bit shocked by this one. I was expecting the Hawks to come back. It's something that's sort of happened with both these teams. The Hawks have come back late against sides where Centrals have sort of not been able to hold it for the 4 quarters, and it was the case the first time these two teams met. But this time, Melton Centrals were able to hold on and play a 4-quarter game. And it was a 45-point win in the end, and I was a little bit shocked about this. I was expecting Woodend to bounce back. They've had a tough month against some of the top 4-5 sides, and now they're playing a side outside the finals, a game they're expected to win, and they'll actually probably disappointing.
Yeah, exactly. And unfortunately with their loss, it now opens up a 2-game gap between 6 and 7. So they haven't done themselves any favours there. And but I mean, hats off to Melton Central's an unbelievable game. That is a side like the Hawks, who could very well be playing finals. They've only just dropped out of the top 6, and the Centrals, their improvement is out of sight, knowing that they could take on a team and comfortably beat a team that could play finals.
Exactly, and this is probably a little bit of a scalp that Melton Centrals has been looking for. They've been able to beat the sides below them on the ladder and around them quite convincingly, but in the end they haven't been able to beat those sides above them. They haven't been able to have that 4-quarter performance. I know I'd spoken to Matt Sproul the week before against Rupertswood. They played good for 3 quarters, and the guys down at Rupertswood were quite impressed with the development of Centrals, but at the same time they've finally done that for 4 quarters, and I think it's that reward for effort that they are taking that next step, and they are really showing they will be a side to look out for in the future.
Plenty to get excited about at Arnold's Creek. Now a game where, look, my gut instinct said that it wasn't going to be a walk in the park. In fact, I just had that feeling that maybe something can go south for Wallen as they took on the Sunbury Kangaroos, and at half time the Kangas are up. The Pies kicked away in that second half. So, I don't know, it's just the Pies and the Roos match up better on the Pies.
Well, that's what I was thinking as well. I was looking at the scores at half-time. The first time these two teams met, Wallen only got over the line right in the last minute. I know Sunbury Kangaroos sort of ran out of legs with a couple of injuries there. And this time it looked like it was going to be a repeat with the Sunbury Kangaroos dominant in that first half.
Were you surprised?
I was surprised, yes. Obviously, I expected Wallen to bounce back after losing to Macedon the week before. They would have been quite disappointed to drop that game. They could have gone either way, but would have been quite disappointed. So for them, I expected them sort of to be in front. We all know that Sunbury has struggled a little bit with depth. I think they did start to get a few players back last week, so that's one thing they sort of have lacked, is that depth. But they got some senior players back in the side, and you look at it, it was all their leaders that really stood up for the Kangaroos. But the second half was all Wallen. I think it was 12 goals to 2, and Wallen sort of showed us why they're a top 5 side. Yeah,
definitely a quality side there, and great to see the big Rex man, Sam Rex Heppy, in the goals there. I know he loves kicking a goal. He kicked a lazy 4, and a good effort by him.
Yeah, definitely. He's a key for Wallen, and he seems to stand up in those big moments when they need them. We see they do have a number of different goal kickers, and he is one of the key ones for them.
Lancefield secured back-to-back wins for the first time since 2016, I think, by taking down Broadford in what was probably Broadford's one of their best performances of the year.
Look, and that's what I'd say the same too. Broadford actually won the second half, so that's probably something they haven't done this year. I'm not sure how they sort of went against Lancefield and Rockbank stats earlier in the season, but definitely an improved performance from Broadford. Lansfield got a second straight win, which is what they sort of want. They would have penciled these 2 games in, having obviously playing Rockbank the previous week, and Broadford, the 3 bottom sides, you'd be penciling trying to get wins against them, and Lansfield's done that, and it's another confidence booster for them.
Yeah, absolutely right there, and something positive they can take ahead as for the rest of the season as well, knowing that they can compete.
Yeah, definitely, and that's what we've seen. You've got 2 wins on the board, and they've got a lot of young guys coming through, so it'll be quite interesting to see whether they can start bringing this form into some of the higher ranked teams.
Good effort by both sides there. Plenty to look forward to there in their future. Romsey comfortably accounted for Rockbank.
It is. Look, I think Rams will be hanging out for their break this week. They've had a tough run with injuries. They pushed Lansfield all the right way, but unfortunately injuries took their toll. And for them, Romsey came out with a 50-1 first quarter. So that sort of set the tone for the day. And Romsey ended up going on to a quite comfortable win. They've made the most of these matches against the lower ranked sides, and now they do sit 2 games clear in 6th spot from both Wood and Heskett and Melton Centrals. And the key for them there is they do still have that extra game in hand, which could work in favour, could not.
Yeah.
If they managed to sneak an upset against Diggers Rest, that gives them an extra game on these chasing sides. With not many rounds to go, would nearly always secure that 6th spot. So they're showing what they did last season, that they can be competitive. They'll beat these lower sides. For them now, it's about being competitive against the top sides.
Percentage was crucial for them anyway, heading into this sort of 2-week block, and they've certainly built up on that.
Yeah, definitely. I think percentage is crucial for any of your top 8 sides looking to play finals. So not just Romsey, but also Wood and Heskett and Melton Centrals. If they're looking to get into that top 6, they need that percentage booster.
Good to see Jack Jedwab back kicking goals.
It is. Obviously, it's been Jack O'Sullivan the last few weeks who's dominated, but it was Jack Jedwab this week who kicked 5 and was named their best. And for the Rams, it was Thomas Maney who was named theirs. So, look, I think they'll be one of the teams most welcoming the break coming this week.
Yeah, it should be a fantastic break coming up. And it's certainly shaping up to be an interesting run home towards the finals, but that's looking back on the latest round. Tara, thanks so much for joining us, looking back on the latest round, and we look forward to seeing you later on the week.
Thanks for having me.